And so my name's Eric. I'm one of Melissa's friends. I don't really know how long we've known each other, but I reached out to her through, her comment section. And like all real people actually respond to people in their comment sections. And then you can start talking to a real person. That's what I've noticed on
Hmm.
this whole YouTube venture is that there aren't many real people out there. And but anyway, when it comes to this topic that we're talking about today, it's very touchy. And I couldn't think of a better person to talk to about these type of topics other than Melissa. Um, and I've always wanted to record stuff like this, not for the world, not for the masses, but for my family, really, just something for them to look at and review. And I keep all this type of stuff on a separate, memory drive because I think that this is important. Yeah, we don't know. This future looks very bleak. It almost looks like, how the Christian will tell you, or the church believer, they believe they're living out through the book of Revelations right now. And that's another thing that I would like to me and Melissa touch base on is this false reality that they're creating based on a story, a new story that they created, and how to get out of that mindset and all of the stumbling blocks and traps of this new story and their end times. And if you're a true believer of that Bible, especially the first part, time doesn't end. There's no end times. It's only a renewal, it's a restoration of this place. And that's the most important thing to know.
Hmm. So where do we begin?
Well, I think what we were talking about, or what I was talking about, is one of the first traps that is difficult to come out of the church doctrine. Um, in most church doctrine, especially within the United States, they all have a messianic figure or a Messiah figure. Typically, in the United States, it's the Jesus Christ, Yeshua figure who is their Messiah, who saves them. But you got to know him, you got to believe in him, and there's no other way. He is the only way to the Most High. So he says. And obviously, if you don't believe him, you go to hell. You burn, everlasting torment, gnashing of the teeth, and all that stuff. And what I would like to have shown or show that this concept is only a New Testament concept. This dying, going to hell, burning in hell fury, and potentially getting the lake of fire, the second death, and all that type of stuff. But even the wicked men in the days that were men actually talked to the Most High, even the wicked men who were in Torah at one time and typically went astray in Torah, they knew they won't go on to burn nowhere. They knew they won't go on to hell. They knew all that. They knew these concepts. And so that's a whole other thought process by itself that we already know that they knew that the only recourse would have been on the earth is how the Most High took them out before they went to their rest. Were they surrounded by their enemies and destroyed? Right. That would have been the only torment they would have went through. That temporary window of torment leading up to their death.
Hmm.
Where would they go? Well, they would go rest in peace, just like they put on every single grave or every single time somebody dies. It's always R.I.P. R.I.P.
That's right.
Because this world knows, because they know, they truly know, and they rub it in our faces. But if you're a Christian, again, mostly Christians, their doctrine is that if you don't know this one guy, which is to them is their God or their Lord or their Savior, if you don't know him, believe in him, it's a wrap. Like you're not going into heaven. Again, the heaven's a whole other new concept. The King David, Isaiah. Moses, they won't expect him to go anywhere. They won't expect him to go to some magical city, floating city, or anything like that, you know?
But won't they be raised again on the day of judgment? We all stand before Yah.
Yeah. Well, I again, you know, it's kind of hard to really know what all that details is like because it looks like it's going to be more like a reintroduction phase for most of us. Like, you know, after the day of visitation, after he destroys the wicked, we're looking at an introduction and a restoration of Jacob to the land,
Hmm.
and then and you know, some people are all over the place with the resurrection and stuff. Who is resurrected? Who isn't resurrected? What does being resurrected to everlasting shame mean, or contempt? I don't think in the Old Testament, I don't think we find like everlasting torment, everlasting pain, everlasting suffering,
No.
but we do get shame. Well, what could that be? Well, maybe they could walk around with a necklace with an A on it. You know, like the Scarlet Letter or something like that. You know what I mean?
Well,
Um,
won't the wicked be ashes under the righteous feet?
yeah, and that's another thing that I think that they misuse, they misinterpret, and they put that in there, like that forever fire. That like, well, this is why when the Most High is regathering Jacob, like he's telling you not to touch their abominable bodies. That's going to be like, it's literally like that song, Let the Bodies Hit the Floor. And they're going to be everywhere round about them on their journey back to the land where he's going to restore them, cleanse them, purify them, new heart, new spirit. But yeah, but they'll be like smoldering in fire. That's the way I read it.
The wicked will be smoldering in
Yeah,
fire.
yeah, everywhere.
So let's read it.
All right.
So maybe Isaiah 66,
Yeah.
start at 19.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I shall set a sign among them, and shall send some of those who escape to the nations, Tarshish and Pul and Lud, who draw the bow, and Tubal and Yoan, and coastlands afar off, who have not heard my report nor seen my esteem. For they shall declare my esteem among the nations, and they shall bring all your brothers as an offering to Yah out of all the nations, on horses and in chariots and in leaders and on mules and on camels, to my set apart mountain, Jerusalem, declares Yah. As the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel into the house of Yah. And from them too I shall take for priests, for Levites, declares Yah. For as the new heavens and the new earth that I make stand before me, declares Yah, so your seed and your name shall stand. And it shall be that from new moon to new moon, and from Sabbath to Sabbath, all flesh shall come to worship before me, declares Yah. And they shall go forth and look upon the corpses of the men who have transgressed against me, for their worms shall not die, and their fire not be quenched, and they shall be repulsive to all flesh.
That don't sound like nothing in the book of Revelations to me, but this is, I mean, obviously people want to be a part of the story. And again, everybody is literally a part of this story. They just don't realize it. They think they have this alternative story where like it's more about them now than it was about this these people that they're talking about right here. Again, the people who aren't in the land, the people who aren't free. They're captive, not just captive physically, but mentally. The Most High has put a spirit of deep sleep upon most of these people who are the house of Jacob. Now, Are the people of the house of Jacob waking up? Yeah, it's easy to wake up. You only have to do one thing, and that's turn to the Most High only. That's the spell breaker. And that's why you got more people talking about YAH only, Most High only, and getting away from the idol. Because that's why he put Jacob in captivity to start with, because that was just one of many things that Jacob was doing on their land. And I just use the word Jacob because I don't like saying all the other words that they give us. But when I say Jacob, I'm talking about the whole house. I'm talking about all the people of the
Mm.
house of Jacob. And it's just easier to say Jacob. But I mean, look what's happened already. He's getting his people back to his land. He's already setting up the priest class. He's already telling you about the new moon that everybody argues over all the time. But he's going to establish all of this. And he's going to, it looks like, I mean, he just did war on the earth. Obviously, if there's corpses everywhere, he had a war machine down here. He had a war machine taking care of the wicked.
Hmm.
And he's already going to set up his priests and the Sabbaths and the feast, all that stuff, because he wants to get back to the old way with the quickness. Because I'm pretty sure he's sick and tired of all this mess. But that corpses phrase, to look upon them, that is kind of freaky though, because it almost seems like they might be there for a memorial forever. I don't know. What's your
Right.
thoughts on that?
Well, that's what I was wondering about. The corpses, though, so it doesn't mean that they're standing there alive, burning in torture. They're dead.
No,
A corpse
dead.
is it's
Dead.
dead.
Yeah, corpse means dead, and it always has and always will.
Hmm.
But do you know how the Most High likes to do things for memorials? I mean, that'd be a kind of a freaky one, kind of creepy, but I'm sure it won't be in the land because these things are abominable. And I think there's a passage in Ezekiel. I'm trying to think of it where he's bringing Jacob back to the land, and he's telling them not to touch any of the abominable things, which I believe are probably the bodies um, that lay about round about that they will see on their journey back to the land. Well, here's just something real quick. This
Uh-huh.
is Ezekiel 33:25, and this is kind of again, this is talking about coming into the land. Again, we're not talking about a magical place; it's a physical place. It's about the land. That's to me, and people who know me, they're probably sick and tired of me talking about the land all the time. But for me, that was the key deal breaker for me on and getting out of the Christian trap. As soon as I understood that the land does not exist today the way we understand land existing, because it's in a complete desolate state. But like just talking about this passage that I'm going to read in Ezekiel 33, verse 25, this is almost like a church thing where they drink the blood and eat the flesh. So therefore they say to them, thus says the Most High, you eat meat with blood, and you lift your eyes towards your idols and shed blood. You should possess the land? Question mark. Again, this is Ezekiel 33. This is talking about the regathering. This is talking about getting to the point where they come back to the land, the so-called church end times,
Hmm.
you know. I was also talking about right here. Actually, this may in context may be talking about right before he kicked them out. So they were already so they were already doing the drinking of the blood and eating of the flesh and looking to idols before he kicked them out. And then down to verse 28 of Ezekiel 33, he says, "And I shall make the land a desert and a waste. The arrogance of her strength shall cease, and the mountains of Yisrael shall be a waste with none passing through." Like these type of things are like these are the keys to unlocking the trap to me. But I haven't seen it work yet, so evidently it's not really the keys that I thought they were. But it has helped some. It has helped a brother of mine. He was a local. He went to Christian church, and we were the second that he understood the land part, and like it took him probably a year and a half. He's like, "Well, the whole world says it's over here." I said, I know, I know." I said, "Don't forget, we did have one guy who was going around telling everybody a flood was coming too." You know, I said, and no, I'm not that one guy telling everybody about the land. But to me, that's where I try to keep my focus at the most is the land and the restoration of the land and the restoration of Jacob to the land. And then once we get those concepts down, then we can get, well, what's next after he restores Jacob? You know, because they don't they still have that church buy-in that they're going to be a part of something. Well,
Mm.
the because they have all the stuff about the church in the new story. And so what's the church going to be in the church is just going to be regular folks standing around and one day see the most high in all his glory. He's going to show himself. And then it doesn't I don't think he really gets into too much about what he does after he introduced himself to the nations. I don't know that I've ever come across of anything of what he actually will require, if anything, from the nations other than from what I read is just the introduction phase of him showing himself. But again, with the church mindset, you get all this magical carpet ride into this magical place, and that's the biggest stumbling block or trap I believe with Christianity is dying and going to that place, not going to rest, not going to sleep, not to have perfect sleep and rest, but to go to this magical place that Moses didn't know about, Joshua didn't know about, King David didn't know about. you know they all went to go sleep with the fathers.
So, what else should we look at to tie in? Because I was also looking in about how the Christians are talking about they will burn in the lake of fire. And what Yah uses fire for is so different than what the New Testament talks about fire, because
Right.
Yah uses it a lot for refining
Purification.
and purification. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, if I there should be a verse where he's actually talking about that he's going to put Jacob through the fire when he recollects him to purify him like gold and like the smith, like a smith worker
Hmm.
with the gold and the silver. If I'm not mistaken, about refining Jacob. I was like, well, man, that's a hell of it's a hell of a that's a hell of a refining.
Yeah, it's in Malachi, Malachi 3, 2 through 3. But who may abide the day of his coming, and who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire, and like fowler's soap. And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he shall purify the sons of Levi, and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto Yah an offering in righteousness. Then shall the offering of Judah and Jerusalem be pleasant unto Yah, as in the days of old, and as in former years. And I will come near to you to judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, and against the adulterers, and against false swearers, and against those that oppress the hireling in his wages, the widow, and the fatherless, and that turn aside the stranger from his right. And fear not me, saith Yah of hosts, for I am Yah. I change not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not consumed.
Mm, that's really powerful stuff right there.
Mm-hmm.
Man, oh man, it's gonna be amazing. Like his first month back in office, if you will, back down here with us, it's gonna be something else. It's gonna be something else. I pray and hope that is something I will survive to see.
Well, actually, I I think this refiner's fire is happening right now because he's doing it now before he returns. Because if not, therefore ye sons of Jacob are not consumed.
Right?
If he doesn't put them through the fire before he comes to refine them and get them in line, they'll be consumed when he returns.
And that might be one of the biggest explanations of why there are so many people now who are coming waking up to, Yah only, Most High only, and getting away from the idol and all that kind of stuff. And because
Mm,
like as far as those 10 commandments, that's extremely important. And like before you even get to the Sabbath, like Jacob has destroyed the first 3 commandments, like not on a continuous basis, you know. And then again, it's just like in Proverbs 28, where you turn your ear from, his law, his Torah, his way. Your prayer is an abomination to me.
mhm.
But if you turn to me, cry out to me, you know, and that's just something I've noticed about in my life is just like for me is just when I turn over to the Most High only, and I cry out to him all the time. All the time. I'll go out into my woods and I'll just, I will cry out to him because you know me and you know what I'm looking into, and we need him. I mean, we need him even if we didn't have all
Mhm.
that extra stuff going on. But man,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it really disturbs me for our youth. And when I'm out in public, when I see a baby, it almost brings a tear to my eye every time. Not a tear of joy, obviously. But I mean, I love that there's new life here because that's what we're supposed to do anyway. But first and foremost is what that baby's going to go through, what that toddler's going to go through, then what that teenager's going to go through. If we get this far before the Most High, you know, settles this place out, but we just need to turn, cry, and I think that's the most important thing that we can do as a people is just continually cry out to him.
Mhm.
Because if that's if especially Jacob, more importantly Jacob, Jacob needs to cry like no tomorrow. Because when Jacob cries, he listens.
Exactly. And I too, when I see little babies, I do want to cry because I feel like they're being born into a world of lies. And it just breaks my heart, the struggle they're going to have to go through, and that we've come out of so many of the lies, but so many haven't, and their parents probably haven't. And so they're surrounded by lies, and you just pray that Yah guides them, but it's a hard road out of the lies, and it
Yeah,
does break my heart.
big time.
So Psalms 34:17 says, "The righteous cry, and Yah heareth, and delivereth them out of their troubles."
Right. And with the Christian mindset or the church mindset, they think that we're just getting into what you call Jacob's troubles.
Right.
But they don't understand that Jacob's troubles is actually only about Jacob. But does Jacob's troubles affect all of us? Yes. Yes, big time. Big time. Everything that happens to Jacob affects the entire world, and it always has. Good, bad, and indifferent. Bad things, when bad things are happening to Jacob, sometimes I think even worse things are happening to the world
Hmm.
on the grand scheme of things.
What about Joel 2:32? And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call upon the name of Yah shall be delivered. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance, as Yah hath said, and in the remnant whom Yah shall call.
Right. How big is a remnant?
Hmm.
Is it 2 billion churchgoers? Uh.
And even now, with all the thousands of messianics, and I used to question that even when I was messianic because I left being Christian and I'm like, okay, so there's a remnant. And at the time, being messianic was who turned to become messianic was so small.
Right.
But it grew and grew and grew and grew till it made you say, huh,
Right. Yeah.
is that the remnant?
Yeah, I did that. I did that hat trick too. I went messianic because like when you I guess what you get to is like when you read like stuff like the book of lies I mean the book of Matthew um I think chapter 5 where he's talking about I came not to change the prophet and the law, well the prophets and the law, not one jot one tittle. And so you're like, well dang, he just told us that the law still stands. Right? Uh, but then you don't see that even him existing is breaking the law. Just his pure existence is 100% breaking the law, which then takes us right back to their theology, which is the lawless one who comes.
Right.
So by just that metric of measurement, the lawless one already came. At least in a story, maybe never in a physical body, but most likely just a story. A lawless one came, and the whole world still follows him
And they attached his story to Yah's word
to Yah's people.
and to his people. Mm-hmm.
But didn't really attach Jacob to it because again, with the crafty council, what do they try to do? Their goal, the crafty council's goal, is to remove Jacob from the memory of the world, to forget about him, who they are, what happened to them, what happened to their land. That's why they have to give you a new land. They have to give you a new story, and they have to give you a new people. Everything's new, all things new, as they say in the Christian church. And but yeah, but the crafty council, they got the perfect name because they are doing it, and they have done it. And they have done it well.